At some points in the exam, you may be asked to think about what causes prejudice or discrimination. Now, there are 5 main reasons why people are prejudiced. There may be other reasons why people show prejudice towards others, but the easiest ones to think about are these ones that we have here. So the ones that we want you to know about are parents, the media, ignorance, scapegoating, and fear due to a bad experience. I'll go through each one of these individually in a little bit more detail now. The first of these causes is parents. As we go through this, write down 2 bullet points explaining how parents cause prejudice and why it's a problem. Parents have a huge influence over their children. If children grow up hearing prejudiced comments, this will affect how they view other races, religions and cultures. It's particularly problematic because we love our parents. We trust what they tell us. And so if they tell us something negative about another race, religion or group, we're very likely to believe it. This is likely to cause prejudice in us that stays with us for the rest of our lives, and possibly something that we pass on to our own children. Time for our next cause of prejudice. This is the media. Again, write down 2 bullet points to explain how the media causes prejudice and why it's a problem. So the media is a powerful influence over people, and it can contain biased views and stereotypes of particular groups that make people prejudiced. For example, the media might have storylines blaming immigrants for unemployment, and if that's the case, people will start to believe it. Now, a big problem with the media is that people have trust in it. A lot of the things that happen in newspapers or reported on the news are true, and people can see evidence of the truth of those things. Therefore, when they tell you that it's Muslims who are doing a particular thing, or immigrants who are to blame for another thing, you're likely to believe it because other things that they tell you are true. What we have to remember with the media is that all media articles are written by people, and people are always just as vulnerable to stereotypes and prejudice as everybody else. The next cause of prejudice that we're going to look at is ignorance. Remember to make your bullet point notes whilst we talk about this, about what it is and why it would be a problem. Some people say that ignorance is the biggest cause of prejudice. Ignorance is when people have little knowledge about individuals, groups, or beliefs different to theirs. They're more likely to believe what they hear about them. This can lead to prejudice by believing incorrect ideas about a person or group before knowing them. If we have no experience of a different culture, religion, race, or sex, then we're more likely to believe what people tell us about it. Really, we require ignorance to be there before we start to believe what other people tell us about different groups. If you already knew lots of old people who were really kind and helpful, and then one of your friends at school told you that they hated all old people because they smelt and were selfish, then you would be less likely to believe them. If you didn't know any old people, then what have you got to tell you that they are wrong? So that ignorance is an essential part of you developing your prejudice towards somebody. The next cause of prejudice that we need to look at is scapegoating. Remember to make notes on what this is and how it causes prejudice. Scapegoating means blaming certain groups or one person for the problems in society. An example of this is Hitler blaming the Jews for the economic problems in Germany. He used the media and speeches to influence the German people so much that they also blamed the Jews. In actual fact, Jewish people in Germany had done nothing wrong. Hitler took this even further in using it as an excuse to wipe out many of the Jews in Germany and Poland, for no other reason than the fact that they were Jewish. Scapegoating is a really dangerous cause of prejudice, because people think that they know exactly why they hate somebody. They think that they've been given evidence in order to be able to hate somebody. And that can mean that it's quite difficult to stop somebody from showing prejudice towards that particular group. The next cause of prejudice I want you to make notes on is fear. Remember, make 2 bullet point notes on what it is and why it's a problem. Fear comes from having a bad experience with someone, and it might mean that you think that everybody within that group is like that. For example, when you were young, you might have been frightened by grumpy old men and now think that all old men are grumpy. Equally, someone may be mugged by a group of young teenagers who are wearing hooded tops, This might make them form an opinion that all groups of hooded young men are going to mug them and cause fear in them. It's an understandable prejudice because it's based on experience. But people don't realise that they're creating a stereotype, and therefore the prejudice that they may hold against other people are actually unfair.